Sounds like him.
And they went, he's like, holy shit, that's why you're Aussie. Yes, well,
Wow.
It's hilarious about how horrible Ozzy is to talk to. Right? Like we've all seen him on the show and we're like, you can't hear or understand what he says. But
bro,
then like
retire,
then he sings and it's like, oh my God, he sounds just like 1972.
Every time I've seen him perform, he's been about a half a beat off.
Yes, but at least you can understand him.
But he was half a beat off in 1972.
True.
So
Very
just
true.
for different reasons.
Fair. Okay. That's fair.
Okay. All right, are we ready to light this pig? Here comes the music. We've been recording for like a minute now. Music, music, music.
Oh my God.
You're the one with the music. Come on.
I know. I'm aware.
And you're the one hitting the record button. You think you'd coordinate this crap.
All right, so we've been recording for a minute now.
Won't listen to himself, and he's too good-hearted to fire himself.
True.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to Everyone Racers, a show designed for the world of low-dollar racing and oddball car culture. It doesn't matter what kind of Lemma Champ or Lucky Track Dog league you run, SCCA or NASA, we won't discriminate. As long as you drive it hard and built it yourself. Join us each week for tech discussions, tips, tricks, news and notes in the world of amateur endurance racing, and whether it's on the spot, hella sweet, or we're lucky enough, and Chrissy gives us just the tip, we're sure you're going to giggle a little and learn even less. Everyone report to the paddock.
This is Chris.
This is Chrissy.
This is overly enunciated announcer Jeff,
And I'm mental.
and we are Everyone Racers. Thanks for coming back and listening to a Lakewood to Englishtown episode of our podcast. That's right, it's New Jersey Transit Bus Line 139. And if you're not driving a car because you're on Bus 139, don't forget your E10 bingo card. Link is in the show notes. I am fired out of a cannon tonight.
You can put your music on.
Hey,
down.
could you have purple
Off.
drink or something?
Did not.
Coke?
Wow.
No.
Damn.
Great.
What you working on? Chris?
Cool. Oh, I've been working on the trailer a lot.
Yay.
I'll say you have. I've seen the pictures.
Mm-hmm. Hell yeah.
Pretty tight. Pretty tight.
Well, I mean, see, obviously they've done all the insulation, done the 110 volt wiring, all works great. So now I'm onto the 12 volt system and the lighting. So I made a battery mount out of, well, hey, we'll talk about something related to that later. But I made a battery mount out of just various assorted crap I found under my workbench. So that worked out nicely. Bolted that up under the frame of the trailer, under the floor in the front. Ran all the 12 volt wiring, ran all the lights. This is LED tape under cabinet lights. So it's the exact same stuff that's under my cabinets around the corners of the trailer. So it shines onto the ceiling, which is reflective white, and the walls, which are nice shiny white now. And then another strip of it under the upper shelves that are on the front wall of the trailer. And I'll add a little bit more too. And then I ring wires to this very back of the trailer to put loading lights out the back of it, shining at the back separately. So those are not yet mounted, but they're installed.
Wow.
I also made a spare tire bracket because I hate having the spare tire in the way. So I made a spot for that to mount. It's bolted
For the trailer.
Yep,
A
for the
spare
trailer.
tire for the trailer.
Where did you put it? I didn't see that on the pictures.
Because it was next to me in the picture. It's
Couldn't see
all
it.
the way at the back because the axles in the trailer are a little far back. So it gets pretty tongue heavy when you put all the stuff in the front, especially because we've got Scudia in the front. We've got the toolbox in the front. So I'm trying to mount some bigger, heavier things in the back. So it's on the right
Near
side of the
door.
trailer.
Yep.
All the way at the door, like touching the frame of the trailer. I made a kind of a U-shaped, like an Uber U-shaped piece that screws into the frame of the trailer, one of the horizontal members. And then I found in my parts bin the the screw with the big fat top that you can use your hand on that used to hold the spare tire down in the Honda.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So I used that with a captive nut welded back behind the bracket. So I can just put the tire there, hand screw it in, and easily take it on and off whenever I need it. But the weight's all the way in the back of the trailer to try to level it out.
Now, is this inside the box or out of the box?
Inside the box.
Inside the box.
But it's all the way up against the side. It's out of the way. It'll be fine, I think.
It totally makes sense because where my spare tire is, I think it's the stupidest place in the ever.
Yours is under the floor.
Under the floor
right?
in the middle. Like if I ever have a flat, I have to like unload the car inside the trailer
to
get to the spare.
but you never trip over it and it's never in the way.
But with mine,
Yeah, but
he-
it's also never
gets
in the
more-
way. You never trip over it.
He used to get more flats than he did taking the car in and out.
True.
Yep.
Until he bought all new tires for the janky half-ass magic trailer. That
And then sold it to Mental.
Yep.
But hey, it's been almost perfect since. Which what does that tell you?
Well, if you don't defer the maintenance for the entire time you own it,
Yeah.
it might work a little
Welcome
better.
to your life.
Yes.
Actually, the janky half magic trailer is sitting on one flat right now. So
I'm not
Only
surprised.
one. That's pretty good considering.
When's the
how
last time
far
it moved, though?
Because that was the first one that blew, so that was the oldest one.
Right.
yeah,
Considering since all
yeah.
the maintenance was done, it has gone from Jersey to Pennsylvania to Georgia to Las Vegas and various other places. This is so much further than anyone expected it to get.
Yeah, I used to not
Frankly.
get onto the New Jersey Turnpike without a problem.
yeah. And it moved late last year. I think I was hauling something around, but yeah, it's been in storage.
It's a fine storage. vessel.
It was on the list. No, I have a storage spot. The RV and the Volvo and the trailer are all in my paid for secure. If you want to get to my RV, you got to go through a 19-year-old with a machine gun. So you're not getting to my RV.
Nice.
Cool.
Let's see, what else have I done? I
I
don't
don't
know. I
know.
think it's about it with the trailer. The trailer's almost done. I just need to do like some wiring cleanup, and then the wiring, the electrical stuff's all done. I need to put the E-track on when that gets here.
Mhm.
I also mounted a permanent fire extinguisher bracket in the front, so I always have a fire extinguisher right by the door. It's actually right above the door, so you can always quickly go in and get it. Nothing's going to fall on it. I put the helmet holders back up. I put the strap rack back on, and I put a piece of sheet aluminum behind the strap rack so the swaying straps won't scuff the paint.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah. I know,
What
it's a little
length
over the top.
screw do you use in your wall?
Longer than the
Longer
ones
than
you-
yours.
I know that.
Yeah.
But I bought
Yeah.
like 3/4 inches and they didn't work.
Now, I know. I saw them all tear out. I'm using
know.
those for things that are not going into the wood. And like usually it's 1 inch is most of what I've used because those
Okay.
go through the plywood and into the stud.
Into the studs, yeah.
That's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
Anyway, last thing I've been doing all today is this morning I drove to a local U-Haul and picked up an open trailer. This afternoon, I drove over to the storage garage and picked up the Solstice. And for the entire rest of the day, till we got here, I have been refitting the side windows in the Solstice and stuffing it full of every spare part we had for it, which is most of the interior, and 4 wheels and tires, all inside the Solstice.
Why didn't you just stick it like on the trailer?
Because
Never seen a U-Haul trailer? There's
it's
no
an
storage.
open trailer,
Yeah.
and so when they stop, like some meth head's going to steal the OZ Superleggeras that are there.
I figured
Like,
you could like bolt them down or something. I don't know.
Yeah, nah.
No,
who
there's
knows?
no. If you've ever seen a U-Haul trailer, there's no floor space. It's like-
Mental, have you seen a Solstice? It's this freaking big.
That's
And
why he
there's
said he did a
still
good
more
job
s- and
Tetrising.
there's more storage space in a Solstice than a U-Haul trailer.
I Tetris.
I was doing the
everything.
happy dance because that thing is on its way out here. So that at the end of next month, it is going to be our additional car for the Champ Car race at Willow Springs.
See, one of the other drivers out there, Tim, happens to be driving from Maine to California with his F-150. So, okay, like it's now or never. Let's go. So,
I believe in the text message between us on the team, it said, should we send it?
hell yeah,
said-
we should
And
send
pretty much
Send it.
everyone replied,
Send
Fat
it.
Miata? Oh, I'm gonna send
it. Yep.
Absolutely.
And so yeah, it's actually it's race ready as it sits. Basically, all they need to do when they get it is pull the crap out of it, pull all the windows back out, swap the good tires back on, and put gas in it. Like it has a current fire bottle in because I stole the fire
Yeah.
bottle out of the Civic and I'm having
Champ
that send us-
Car does require a net, so we're gonna.
Yeah, they're dumb.
We're fabbing up a net in my driveway when it makes its way from Utah to Los Angeles.
Cool.
We've already scheduled that one.
Yep.
So what belts are in it? The belts that came with it, right? I
Yeah.
still have the Z belts, right?
Yeah.
Because some of the parts that were going to go into the Z are about to travel to the West Coast, right?
The fire system and the radio harness. Yeah.
Okay, that's not so bad.
Everything else we kept. So anyway, yeah, this
The
Solstice is
three
basically
pedal
race ready.
mafia empire is expanding. It's coming to the West Coast.
Mhm.
Hear that, tetanus?
Now it's 3-pedal party racing out there. So
Awesome. Mental,
bad
since
either.
you have the mic, what are you working on?
So I have been doing a lot of woodworking, finishing up the surround around my hot tub. I have been doing sprinkler repairs, which involves digging a lot of holes in my front yard, finding shattered PVC pipe that has just been making caverns. I'm surprised I don't have a sinkhole in my front yard, getting all that replaced, and then mapping the entire sprinkler system. So that I think the installation dates back to like 1970 something.
For those of you not watching on YouTube, Mental is holding up some sort of janky diagram.
It's a map. It's a map of my sprinklers and where they go.
That came with the house, or did you drive it?
No, I had to make that this weekend because I have no idea where they go.
I think Chris turned off his mic so we didn't hear him chewing.
Yeah, I
and
know.
now I can't hear him.
that are, where can ye find Mental's treasure in the yard? Oh, there be dragons over there.
I'm glad you turned your mic back on. That was funny.
That was good.
If the mic isn't on, you should definitely turn your mic on.
The other thing I was laughing at is Jeff moving to a side so he can watch the racing that's happening.
It's true.
I have done this with the NSX, the Ayrton Senna Air.
The black one's about to spin off, Jeff.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I know.
And actually, also, I've been real working. So I have now. I'm kind of off Coronication, so I'm actually going in almost every day now.
I noticed you got like the mil spec haircut back.
Well, they finally opened the barbershop back up on. Well, they opened the barbershop back on base, but my guy, they didn't have enough demand to bring my guy in yet.
Which is surprising.
Who's your guy? Why do you have your guy versus that guy?
Okay, those of us with hair understand that when you find somebody that does your hair right, you stick with that person. When I was in Oklahoma, I followed one girl to 4 salons because she knew exactly how to do my hair right. And I've got a guy here in Vegas, Dion. He's an old Navy guy, and he started cutting hair when he was in the Navy.
Oh, there goes the black one spinning.
Yeah,
That's his thing. And now in addition to some other things, he cuts hair at the barbershop on base at the Officers Club. And he's got it, man. He knows how to do my hair. And so that's he's my guy. I walk in, he's like, "Hey, how's it going, Mental?" All right, da da da. And I'm in and out in 20 minutes and it looks good.
And did you have the sunroof open on the way home?
It looks a little wind blown.
It looks like you did.
It did. I went for a run today at work, and when I got out of the shower, most everybody was gone in the office, so I didn't put anything in it. So it just dried
A no
down.
product
See,
situation.
Product-free Mental.
Yeah, it's product-free Mental. So a little poofy going on. No, it's 90 degrees. That sunroof is closed.
Well, that's great. It's good to know that you're back working every day. I guess I don't know. Keeping
Well, at
American
least this way you feel like you're getting your tax money out of me.
Sure. And the rest of us have been
Still don't.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't go that far. But
I've been working more. Well, I'm going to say at least Jeff and I. Chris works hard. No, you don't work hard when you're working. I see
today I was busy. I had a lot of
today. I
meetings
didn't see
today.
you working, so I don't.
When you know what you're doing, it doesn't look like you're working that hard.
When you're looking at your phone at the news, that means you're not working.
My job is kind of boring sometimes. I need a break. This is how I find Rolls Royces for $1,000.
Right.
Those kind of things.
Right? That's the thing.
That happened. Who have we missed yet? Chrissy, you got a picture today, so you've actually been like physically real working.
Real working. But Saturday, I got a day down the beach. It was cold. Then it was really warm. Got a little burnt, which was awesome. Did some yard work. Fantastic Saturday. Came back here and did lots of yard work. And then I've been doing some real work at work. Today I packed about 9,000 8-ounce bottles of hand sanitizer to send to my 700 locations. And tomorrow is 164,000 KN95s to 700 locations. If you will note, I don't think you can see it. My Fitbit.
Does
my
that fall
Fitbit
into the realm of accessories?
tells
Because
you
it's not propane.
26.
whoa, is that 26,000 steps?
26.4, yes.
And she can't even blame 10,000 of them on the car. She actually did.
No, well, I drove my Mazda. I don't think it said outdoor bike because sometimes it does if it's bumpy, but just on the Mazda. So yeah, so it's 26,000 steps. I was tape person making boxes, and then so we got about 600 boxes went out today.
No large flightless birds
No,
climbing up the roads.
not see them. Oh, that it met its demise on the side of the road.
I'm actually really happy to see that you're driving the Mazda, because I'm going to get Chris in trouble here just as soon as I can find the text that he sent me.
Yeah, I mean, it's just to and from work. It's slow.
Oh, she has seen that. I made that and showed it to her right now.
Oh yeah.
I'm out of the loop. What's on?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so Jeff, I hope this focuses.
Chris has it. Yes. Oh no, I don't know. You have
it's a
to
little
go
too far
closer.
away.
No, closer.
Closer. I see a dog, a cat, and a cat, but I can't see what it says.
Oh, you can't see yours even worse, Chris.
Yeah, Chris,
Get your
even worse.
background
Turn your background off.
It's the picture of the woman holding the puppy,
Yes,
and then
and
there's a cat in the background.
It zooms
And
into
it's
the
crying.
cat.
Right. So the puppy is Mercedes E400 wagon, and the cat is Mazda 3.
Got it. Yeah,
That's true.
Totally.
Yep.
And I was trying to come up with, I wanted to make a reply meme where the one where it shows Lucifer being cast from heaven, and he's walking away. He's like, whatever, I'm going to make my own heaven. It's going to have hookers and blow. and so I wanted to get that one. And it's like,
good.
Whatever, I'm going to live in Vegas. There's no rust there.
And be a race car. Like, that's better than the E400's ever going to be. So
be a race car in Vegas, not rust.
So no, I take the Mazda, which is filthy with pollen and dirt. You can barely see out the windows, but it's just to get the miles
every car
up.
in the East right now.
I know.
Sure.
It's bad.
But I drive it because we're trying to get the miles up so I can stop driving it, which is the goal. So, and the E400 is kind of clean. It's getting a little bit dusty from when the doors open, but it's
the pollen blows all over it. Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah. So I feel like I need a vacation these 2 days. Fortunately, things are going very well with packing. Basically, this is Chrissy's mailing service. I'm doing all the logistics for that. So not only am I just packing it, but I have ordered all of the boxes, all of the labels, figured out how much goes in each box, give everybody a spreadsheet, say you need to put this name goes, this is how many bottles, this is where it goes, this is what size box it goes in, go. So today went pretty smoothly. Hopefully tomorrow does as well.
Cool.
Jeff, what are you doing?
Oh, it's my turn. Let me go back to the paying attention here. So we are T-minus plus 1 week from graduation. So like graduation was a week ago. So like the summer project list has started. I am like working at like midnight. I'm like doing stuff in the house. It's awesome.
How's a Z?
Well, waiting for a motor. I'm not trying to put any pressure or anything.
Oh, if you told me you weren't ready for it.
Oh no, I'm ready for it now.
Okay, I was waiting until you were ready for the motor.
5 days ago.
Okay, yes.
Yes,
I've been waiting for you to say you're ready so that I can take a day off and go get them.
Oh yeah. I'm ready whenever.
Okay. I just didn't want them sitting here in the trailer under a tarp for a month while you're like, oh,
no,
doing blah blah blah.
No. We are ready. I am doing blah blah blah, but that's okay because blah 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 will be done any second.
I'll go get them.
Here's blah blah blah. Since we moved into this house, we've said the same thing every single summer and spring and fall. Damn, we need a screen door on the back of our house. So we were all cooped up and we're all like, let's go shopping. Lowe's, Home Depot, let's do it. Rang that credit card, bought a storm door. Bam, we have a screen door in the back of our house, and the dogs are insane. They're like, smell the world.
Oh yeah, it's like Rusty does that too.
Yeah. So yeah, that's happening now. So that took like exactly an hour, and then I was like,
good.
Flooring. We can buy flooring. Beep, boop, beep, boop, boop. Hello, Eric, 914 lover. Yeah, my truck is filled with 914 parts. Where do you live? Virginia. Be there in 2 hours. Bam, drove down. It was the next day. I really didn't do it that way. So I dumped all of the 914 parts onto Eric, the 914 lover, and
DJ 914.
Did he
DJ
say they are?
914.
Yeah, DJ guy with speakers.
Yeah.
Did he say they're all crap, or is there anything good there?
He was surprised by some of them. He was like, "Oh, that's nice."
He's not just being polite because it's Eric.
I think I got somebody who could do that. He the thing that I thought was total garbage that he was like, "Ooh," was the rear card, like the back seat, like the thing that goes in the back of a 914 and has like the back pads in it.
Yeah, under the windows behind the seats.
Yeah, I didn't even know there was a back seat in a 914. I was like, well, this is like for the wrong kind of Porsche because there's no back seat in a 914.
Oh well.
Yeah. Who knew?
Oh,
So
no,
I
no,
said,
it's not a back seat. That's a some of the early 914s. It was a one piece. The passenger seat molded into that back card that went right up to the firewall, and only the driver's seat would move.
was like an actual seat. Okay, well that could be it.
Yes, and I saw that piece, so I guess that one was in really good shape because I saw the pictures you posted.
There was a lot of tan leather interior, and he said that was intriguing. Okay. So yeah, so there it is. And then like Alex Levinson sees the pictures and was like, oh, sell me some 914 seats. And I was like, what?
Y'all got any more? Y'all got any more?
You got any more than 914 seats? I'm like, do you even have a 914? He's like, no, I'm putting them in my Miata. I'm like, oh, I guess that makes sense. Because they're small. Like I've played this game. It's hard to get seats into a Miata. The space is tiny. So anyway, so I ditched everything out of my truck, and then I drove home and I immediately tore the carpets. I moved all the furniture and tore all the carpets out of my bedroom, the master bedroom in my house. And then I spent an entire night like yanking all the staples out of the floor.
That's a fun one.
It's a fun one. It's a nice 3-4 hour job sitting on your ass.
If you're lucky, because it's a 3-hour job, and then you find out the 2 hours of you missed.
Yeah.
And your knee has an uncanny ability to find those staples.
I wear knee pads, so it wasn't that big of a deal. So now I'm playing the game of good board, bad board. Like, do I cut that spot out or do I replace the whole sheet? Do I cut that spot out or do I replace the whole sheet? And it's a mixed bag. I think in a 12 by 13 room, I'm going to be doing like 2 full sheets and 2 half chunks. So
you lost the game of move your belongings chicken with the lovely and talented Jennifer?
Oh no, I moved it.
So you really lost.
Oh yeah, I was like, hey, you got any more of them jobs to do? Do a job now. So that's what I did, and I removed all the staples, and now it's all about subfloor repair, and then ordering up some flooring. We're definitely going with the Cali bamboo. We definitely have picked our color and everything.
Sweet.
So it's I am going to do the engineered click, not the full click though, not the full thickness stuff.
Okay.
Just so much cheaper.
Yeah. Probably a lot easier to install too.
Yeah.
Where ours is the full ass cleats and everything.
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's it. That's what I'm doing.
Cool.
Is it news and notes time?
I think
It is.
In case you haven't figured it out, I found the bullhorn. No, this isn't a repeat story. No, this isn't a repeat show. But the Cannonball record has been broken again. It seems that it took 5 years to beat 2850. And in the last 5 weeks of co-vacation, Ed Boylan is now saying that 7 times successful runs have happened. And the 2638 that was set 5 weeks ago has already been broken, and several of them are under 26 hours.
Asterisk.
He still is saying that there should be an asterisk. He is also saying that several of the specialized records, like the diesel records, the coast to coast, and a few others, have also fallen. He also says he knows of several unsuccessful attempts. So that means basically everybody has been going nuts trying to set a record. He also says, cut it out.
Yeah.
The records are pretty much set. You're not like the first guys who went to set the 2638 kind of said, hey, it's COVID, or the guys who said, hey, this COVID thing, we should just go for it. He says that was great, but the people who had organized teams and organized sets have now done it. So the best people with the best plan and with people blocking and running ahead of them has happened. So he says, I'm not going to give you the data yet because we're still waiting. But when I release the data, you're not breaking the record that's out there now. So cut it out.
What are you saying? The asterisk? What are you saying? Asterisk?
It's an asterisk because it shouldn't count against the regular world records.
Coronation.
Like there should be Corona record. and
because there's
real world record.
no traffic.
No traffic.
No
Less
traffic.
construction, less traffic.
Yeah, less
Yeah.
just
police,
people
less
out
Less
in
law
general.
enforcement.
Nobody's on
Honestly.
vacation. Law enforcement is not pulling people
Okay.
over. He actually, speaking of law enforcement, and by the way, we have a road and track story. There's a VinWiki video, of course, because it's Ed Boylan and he's sending stuff to his channel. But he basically has said that the best prepped team, the team that had the best car, that was ready, that had been planning for years, that had the most spotters, actually was going to totally crush the record right until the cops got him.
Bummer.
So he said the cops are still out there and you should stop it. And the original two guys who did 2638, who we still don't know who they are because they haven't really released it. Someone else took a picture of their car and mentioned it. They were not planning on talking about their record until the time had passed so they don't get arrested, but it was only their friend who was taking the pictures who posted on Instagram that got picked up by Road and Track. So he says everyone else is being smarter and you're not going to hear about it, but cut it the hell out is basically what he's saying.
A
Yep.
huge bit of responsibility there. Yeah.
Link in the show notes. And he said, quote, I totally understand. It's like the cocaine dealer telling the heroin dealer, cut it out, but cut it out.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going
All
to
right.
fix my mic, so go everybody talk.
Yeah. Last week, we brought you the story of cheap Corvettes. You could buy a C7, 0% financing. Well, there's more. Tom McFarland over Jalopnik picked up a story that Hertz Rent-A-Car, which is famous for renting a lot of high-end stuff. Hertz Rent-A-Car just dumped a good-sized bit of 2019 Z06s on the used market. Small portion of these, most of these were in the $60,000 range. A couple of them were actually sub $60,000, and that's from their original price of almost $95,000 new. A companion piece on Auto Week pointed out that this effort is taking place quite early in what could be a very long summer of rental car companies liquidating parts of their fleets. Hertz is on a, as of recording, 3-day watch list before they have to declare bankruptcy. They've got to come up with
Hertz is hurting right now.
And if Hertz is hurting, you know they're all hurting. And
Enterprise, Dollar, they're all going to go down if people don't start renting cars.
Exactly. And no one's renting cars. And if you're a rental car company, what's the first thing you start doing? You start liquidating your fleet, because that is, you can turn those assets into cash and they stop pulling on your drain.
And you get rid of the Hyundais and the Maximas
Nissans.
and Altimas, right? Like all of the crap that we
they're
drove.
all they're all
Get rid of
gone.
those.
They're all coming. But here's the thing. So you're about to see a flood. Go ahead, Chris. Oh,
I'd say the Corvettes are worth a lot more. You can sell 100 Corvettes.
I mean, sure.
Yes.
But you get a lot of money for them Corvettes.
Right. And not just
and no
Corvettes.
one's renting the Corvettes. The only people that are actually renting cars right now are renting the mundane crap because they have to. They're not doing the fun stuff.
And Hertz is known for that. They've had AMG Mercedes, occasionally certain locations.
The original Hertz GT350s. Yeah.
Right. Mustangs, that sort of. So there's some high-end stuff. But the companion piece over at Auto Week, and we've got a link both the Jalopnik article and the Auto Week article talks about, is this is going to be a really ugly long summer, and there's going to be a whole lot of these rental car companies liquidating these god-awful Maximas and Sentras and just Econoboxes, which across the board is going to drive the price of used cars right into the toilet. And you play this all the way down to that local buy here, pay here lot, which there's one about a mile and a half from me that's got a CLS 550 of the same generation as mine for $4,500, sitting really, really low because I'm sure he's neglected his hydrostatic
springs
suspension.
are gone. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And it's been out there for $4,400. So that all leads into a whole thing in there. This is terrible news for automakers, because why would you pay for a new car when none of us are buying a CVT Maxima, but you could get a CVT Maxima that's going to last you 5 years at now hugely discounted flood prices because the market's flooded. Follow that logic all the way down to all the kinds of crap that we want. So let's start thinking about, 10-year-old Civics, all this other kind of stuff. That's
when the market gets depressed, it depresses all parts of the market.
Exactly. So it's going all the way down. So this is bad news for anyone that works in the automotive industry, but great news for an entire group of people that race really crappy, neglected cars nobody loves anymore. So I think it's a matter of time before you start seeing some Hertz quality Sentras or Maximas or Altimas show up in some of these various endurance races.
I'm waiting to see like the Dodge Avenger.
Yeah. Or the new 300. Hell yeah.
Yeah. Or Journey. Someone needs to race a Journey. What an awful, awful car.
Yeah.
So we got a link to both those articles in the show notes.
Okay.
On a different note, our buddy and one-time teammate and former guest Steph Schrader reported on the drive that two Americans have been arrested in connection with the Carlos Ghosn escape from Japan. Michael Taylor and 59-year-old former Green Beret and his 27-year-old son Peter Taylor now face extradition to Japan themselves after being charged in Massachusetts federal court. Link in the show notes. It keeps getting bizarre, and crazy that they got caught.
Yeah, they were, I think, indicated really early. We had heard that it was a Green Beret and his son, but we didn't have the names, and they were wanted by Interpol, I believe, for a little bit. I didn't know that.
And yesterday, they both booked a flight to Beirut. And so immediately U.S. authorities went, flight risk. You'll be coming with us.
There's that.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a regular listener, I feel bad that you have nothing better to do. Please email me and I will make suggestions for better podcasts to listen to. Oh, wait a minute. Let me read
This
the notes.
American Life.
Sorry. Let me read the notes here. If you're a regular
Invisible.
listener to this show, you've already heard this, but the world just discovered that Harbor Freight is recalling 454,000 jack stands.
We broke that story months ago.
We didn't break it. We stole it from Brian Medford of the Napa Know-How blog, which broke it 3 weeks ago.
Which is fine. It's old news.
Yeah, but it's worth mentioning now because there's a little bit more information now. So it's actually the 3-ton and the 6-ton with several different part numbers. And Harbor Freight has released like a 1-page how to identify if your jack is one of them, which wasn't available before. So we link in the show notes. It's going to kill you, so it's worth linking again and discussing again.
I checked ours. We're clear. Not the same part.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, mine are all like craftsmen, so.
Yeah. Okay. Time for
racer reaction.
Yeah. Dr. Florida Man Donnie raised over $700 in his quest to obliterate his liver and do it for charity. So he was okay. I think he appeared a little more under the influence than either mental
or Randy. Yeah, Randy looked great.
And Mental was surprisingly with it when I was spotting for him. Like he was.
I had help. I had that's the thing is I had my buddy in the bar going, go left, go right. Okay, bathroom's almost there, buddy.
Yeah. No, really. I think it's because you were really, really trying, and like you weren't trying to go fast. You were just trying to not seem like the obnoxious drunk guy. So that's what it came down to. And you only offered to give me a kidney once. So, that brings the total for the You Donate, We Drink contributions to over $2,200 so far. This week's stunt liver will be Amanda Tully herself, but given the level of generosity displayed, there's some safety measures. Amanda is not a luxury mammal like Donnie or Randy.
Like she's like one of their legs.
Or a military train drunk like Mental. So.
Exactly right.
She is a dynamically packaged finance professional.
So she's going to drink only enough to get a good solid buzz on, but she's not allowed to wear her glasses. So she can't be 10 inches from her monitor. She only has one monitor, and it's it's like an old TV, basically. So this is going to be kind of fun. It's just going to be various assorted blurs that she sees as she goes around. Amanda has asked you consider donations for your local food bank or substance abuse and mental health facility. So while we're making fun of all this because that's what we do. We hope you understand that if you need help, hey, we're all here to help. No one's going to judge you. Links in the show notes to all those places and hotlines and various things so you can find whatever services that you need. Whether you want to or not, it's probably the right answer if you're questioning.
I'd like to mention that I gave to our college food bank to make sure Donnie got a little extra drunk. So I'll have to go for a mental health one this week. So racing may be coming back as of this recording, and we were recording this Wednesday at 8 p.m. Lemons is still planning. May 20th, thank you. Lemons is still planning to hold NJMP event. It just canceled High Plains in Carolina, so that is T-minus 3.5 weeks, right? If I got that right? Yep. Still not yet. The racetrack is still not yet open by the governor's decree, but they must know something, or they think it's close, because a lot of other outdoor recreation is open in the state of New Jersey, including archery ranges and personal watercraft rental. So it's okay to rent a jet ski and fire a bow and arrow. So you know how much less dangerous is a Lemons, right?
And you fire a bow and arrow from a moving jet ski.
Yeah,
holy crap! Do not
try
that at home.
That requires you going to Alabama.
Yeah. So last week,
Alabama doesn't have water to put on. I mean, it has
they have
like
this
water,
much.
All right,
this
like,
much.
I'm gonna do some stuff that's not in the notes here. Last week, the Grand Prix the bracket Grand Prix in Thompson announced that it was going to go on June 27th. They actually announced yesterday that they were not going. That Connecticut is not going to allow them to open. Last week, AER released a statement that, quote, as part of our continued effort to offer great racing opportunities, we have secured June 6th and 7th, 2020 at Nelson's Ledges Road Course. And in addition to the Willow Springs event in June, Champ Car has announced that they will be running Daytona on July 5th, following the July 4th IMSA race. So they're acting as a support race for IMSA. Race Champ and watch IMSA from the socially safe infield at Daytona. Sounds like a hell of a deal. NASCAR started over the weekend, in case you haven't seen that. So it seems like the world is coming back. They did it very interestingly. I don't know how many of you watched the the NASCAR event. They did no testing and no qualifying. There was no one in the stands, and they had very limited support staff that they were allowed to bring to the track. So a lot of things that could be done remotely, like the engineering and stuff, they had to stay home and like Skype in. But like tire changers and stuff could be there. Somebody wrecked like right on the first lap. It was fantastic. They did a competition caution, and I said, I don't care, I'm leaving, and I turned it off. So I have no idea what happened. But that's the deal. Information for all these events is on the internet. Check all the major series websites. I have a feeling that things are going to be changing daily. So anything that I say in a podcast and then we release 24 hours later is probably going to be old news. So links in the show notes, go to the websites.
But what I have is not old news, and probably will stay this way. Safety Squirrel here to talk about some new realities of beloved sports. Lemons has included an informational page on their website that's good for any series, as it is in line with non-endurance racing series that have already started to come back, like VARA in California and NASA. So some of these precautions of what's going to happen when you go to a racetrack again. Face covers required, and Lemons went on and on about all the things you can put on your face, but something has to be there. And a helmet is not legal.
Stuffed lion?
Don't wear this.
Stuffed lion work?
That's
tiger?
Tiger. Don't wear your tiger. Enforced social distancing. Symptomatic or high-risk entrants must stay home. Streamlined gate and check-in process, which would be just great in general. Can we just have that anyway? Because
really,
that never happens.
Worldwide pandemic to get someone to figure out how to check us in a time.
We don't have to wait 6 hours and then in one line anyway. No HQ desk, all functions from the front gate. That's interesting. Transponders distributed and recollected at tech, so there's nobody just sitting at tables waiting for you to come up. Come to Gear Tech fully suited. Check your gear while you're in it. That's stop and go.
Easiest way to do it anyway.
Right. Well, that's what we do. Yeah, I say here's all my stuff, and rather than slapping all the stuff all over the table. Timed stop and go penalties only. No hot pit fueling. Drivers meetings and award ceremonies held online. That's sad.
They're going to Zoom it, I think. I guess we're all
actually, Lucky Dog tonight, as we record, they're holding their mandatory drivers meeting for their event this weekend.
With the quality of the internet at most tracks.
We're never going to know who's going to win. You might just send us an email. Hey, did
Or
we
just
win? Let me check my email.
Just do it over the PA, like which at least we'll
Yeah.
hear.
Please
Uh-huh.
cut him off here. Please report. Please report to the thumbstand.
And we're like, wait, what did we win? We win
I don't
something? No, we just didn't get our transponder. I'm
No
just
win
kidding.
an ass beating.
Yes. Okay, and then paddock spaces to be separated as directed on site.
Bingo.
What?
I got bingo.
That is hella early.
What?
I know.
I want to
tell
know
us what
what
it is?
socially distancing buzzword that you think
Yeah,
of.
all right, there's no coronation on your.
Paddock was the last one I needed.
Oh, man.
I've got paddock, lemons, free space. Someone sells a car boat, trike, bug, boat, whatever bug. I figured the solstice going away. That's pretty
That
much.
counts.
That counts. And trailer brakes or brakes. We're talking about the
There you
janky ass
go.
trailer.
Okay.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
got
All right.
it.
Bingo.
it is.
Good.
And
All right.
so lastly on this list of things that we can't do when we get to the track is socialize with your team only and no inter-team meals or parties, which is so sad. This is
Ooh.
the worst for us. The majority of us on the show, and certainly a large part of our listeners, the social aspect is exactly why we go for there's a party and then there's a race going on at the same time. So nightly wandering needs to be a little bit more aware, wave from a distance, say hi to your track family. Link in the show notes, I'm sure, but and it was also in your email. I'm sure you read it, but so sad. I guess
Jeff
it gets us back
Bullhorn
on the track.
Come in here.
Yeah, and your trombone,
Hey,
not
hey,
at the same
Suckholes.
time.
Tony, stay over there. Nice to see you. Soggy, bring me some bacon. Just leave it at the front. I'll get it later. Sit down.
Yo, that
So-
dude doesn't look clean like on a regular race.
I just say, so Lemons doesn't have a trademark on the no riding rule, but awareness of these entire mitigation procedures before you show up. So read the rules before you get there. It's going to go a long way with just any organization. And you may agree or not agree the reason behind these processes, but just know them beforehand and adhere. You don't need to show up in your semi-camouflage wannabe military uniform and protest these rules because it's oppression, because you have no idea what oppression really looks like. But if you want to come and complain about these rules, maybe you don't come. Maybe you just get on a Facebook page and start whining about it there. Just don't come at all to any event. Do you have to like these rules? No. But as one of my future teammates said, we're going to be racing a champ next month. He said, I'm going to do it, but I'm going to be grumpy all weekend, which knowing this person, I seriously doubt he's going to be that grumpy. But okay, be grumpy, but shut up. Because everybody that has to enforce these rules is either a volunteer or an entry-level track employee. And they don't get paid enough, and they don't want to hear your crap. So fuss to somebody else online. They didn't make the rules. Don't be a dick. And if you want to stand in line and hold everybody up to where you go on some diatribe about, why do I have to wear a mask? I thought I lived in America. You're just making your fellow competitors more miserable because we're all wearing our tech gear in the hot sun while we're waiting for you to shut the hell up. So just save the rant for your paddock mates when you're nice in your nice little socially distanced paddock. But I'm going to let you in a little secret. They don't want to hear it either. I'm going to get off my soapbox now.
I'm glad you said that. I had a few minutes today between Zoom meetings, and I was doing some Facebooking, and I clicked a link that said, like, lady complains at the grocery store about wearing a mask, and I got so angry. and I got angry not because she's comparing wearing a mask to, like, societal, like, taking her rights and making her enslavement. Like, if you're saying anything about Hitler or slavery or oppression because you have to wear a face mask, F you in general, because some people really are enslaved. And anyway,
and you
the rule is,
you don't know what oppression looks like.
Yeah, the rule is we all got to do it, or else they're not going to let us race. So even if you think it's fake and you want to shout about your freedoms, that's great. But if you screw up the rules, they're not going to let us race.
This is my thing.
So do the rules.
These are not government facilities. So no one's oppressing your rights. This is we reserve the right to refuse service to anyone, freedom America. And if you don't agree with a business's policies, don't do business with that business. That's not hard.
Okay,
Well,
let's move on.
Moving on.
Let's move on to E1R race night recap.
Things that people don't bitch about. Everyone Racers race night.
That's right. Monday
Okay,
nights.
so Monday night
are racing.
we had the first race on our Monday night race was at Road Atlanta, and most of the field was using Legends, and they had seriously much more fun than the rest of us. So I'm serious.
Legends are awesome.
Yeah. So
Legendary.
So Dave was the only one in a Mustang, so he was the only one in A class, and he wasn't having any fun because he was just like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna go to get around you." And I'm pretty sure Jeff said at some point he was just like, "This is like," I think he said it's like an AER race. You're just like, all of a sudden he's just gone. He's like, "Yeah, cool."
Damn it. I had to work late Monday night, and this was my
everybody's
chance.
like, "Where were you?"
I know. As I'm driving home, I'm looking at the clock, and I'm like, "Fuck, I could be racing right now."
Yeah, right. All right. So then there's another group, including Donnie, who was on his PS4 controller, which you could tell. If you just watched him, he goes kind of like
the tires just go did.
Yeah, basically, he just kind of drives all over like a little bee. Yeah, we were all in Solstice.
Solstices.
I like Solstice. All right. Anyway, so it was Tom P, Eric K, Donnie, and I, and there might have been another person that were all in Solstice. I started the race, so I gridded first, and Chris told me, he's like, don't push the gas as soon as it's green, because
until it's green.
It was green for a good solid 4 seconds, 5 seconds.
Did you have the line?
No, I freaking passed the pace car when it went into the but you know, when the pace car in Road Atlanta, you can't, it's all the way over there.
If you let your speed increase at all down the hill, that's when you get past the pace car, and they don't give you the flag until after the green starts.
I know. And so it was green halfway down the hill, and it was like, okay, it's green. Wait, and I see everybody coming before me, like they're all like, and I think it was Eric or somebody was behind me, and they're all like on my tail. They're like ready to go. And then all of a sudden, and I didn't want to and of course you don't win on the first lap, you lose on the first lap, which is what happened. So I freaking got a black flag the first lap, and I was also I don't know who won or anything. My Discord wasn't working. I could hear, but I couldn't talk. So everybody was like making fun of each other, and I was like, this is dumb. Nobody talks to me in game chat because they said they don't like game chat, so they don't talk in game chat. And then, so I was bored. Do you even know who won, Jeff? Because I don't know. I mean, Dave won his class. I didn't win my class.
It's for Dave or Joel.
Who won
Merman.
the Legends though?
Lee Merman is always quick.
Joel was in a Legend.
Yeah,
so I think Dave tore it up, but I'm pretty sure Joel was right behind him.
Were you guys all in A? Legends.
No,
weren't in
Legends
A.
are B. So I'm saying Dave won A because he was the only car in A.
Right.
And then Joel won. I'm pretty sure the
Legends.
And
yeah,
because there was a couple of Jettas. Like
there were.
Was
that's
in the
true.
Jetta, and a couple. They were and
Alex
was in the Jetta.
Couple in the Jetta, yeah.
I think Tom was in a Jetta too.
Tom didn't race.
there.
Tom P. No, Tom P.
No.
Pirate?
No. Maybe
Yeah.
he was. I don't.
Anyway,
Anyway.
it's still fun.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's good. It's clean. There's enough people. You have people to race. You have enough people
I got
to
out and Chris got
test
in.
your balls.
Yeah.
And then when I went, there were more of us in Legends. I think there's a couple Solstice sizes still, and Alex is still in the Jetta. But it was fun. Like I don't really know who won. It wasn't me. I crashed once hard enough to crab walk the entire rest of the way around the track. At surprising speeds, though. So
I'm gonna say one of the things that's really fun about the Legends is they take a beat and then keep on going. Like,
yeah, they do.
I hit the wall hard, like flat nosed right into the wall, and I was like, "Well, I'm done." And then I just kind of said, "Well, I might as well try and drive back to the pits." I finished the race. I was like, "Well, this is my steering wheel was at like a 45-degree angle, but it drove fine."
Yeah, they're. I'm pleased. You just got to get the setup different than the original. I
definitely
one.
need your settings because.
Yeah.
What's his name from last week? Mental, your buddy.
Tyler.
Oh, yeah.
Hoffman.
Yeah.
So he gave me all of his settings, but I have no idea which Legend setting is for the road course. He said, I love Legend on the road course. I'll send you my settings. And then they're all listed as ovals. There was one called like the Pooper Scooper, and I seem to like that one the most. Of course. I don't know.
Yeah.
Tyler, if you're out there, send me an email.
What?
Which one is the road course setup? I don't know.
Okay.
Excellent.
Anyway, it was a good time. Join us Monday nights. It's fun.
Yeah.
If you don't have the
Email
password,
us.
ask.
Yeah, just ask for the password. It's breaks.
Or yeah,
Something.
it's relating to breaks.
Yeah,
It's not the word breaks. It's
It's
4 letters.
It's 4 letters. It's on the bingo card. You figure it out.
Uh-huh.
Any of our social medias.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. So,
Was that-
listener feedback.
Yeah, I was gonna go listener feedback, but I wasn't sure if we were there yet. By the way,
Yeah.
those of you who haven't noticed, we are available on YouTubes. We are recording every show, and Mental and I had no idea, but we're wearing the same shirt. Show the shirt, Mental.
Davy Jones. Yeah.
Problem.
And there's no reason to watch this on YouTube.
No.
Just
If
Or
you're
Davy
listening
Johnson,
to
Davy
it,
Jones.
you
Davy
don't
Johnson.
need to. Although on YouTube, you can watch the hilarious video of my dogs.
Which is funny. There is a small portion of our listenership that actually enjoys having this YouTube on in the background instead of a podcast.
Because you can listen to it at your desk at work. It's a little easier.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're actually getting decent traction on YouTube, but that's inside baseball.
Listener.
Listener feedback.
On the
All
YouTube,
right.
Vicky thought that video was funny, and Vicky hates everything we do. So
It's dogs.
that's
It's
good.
funny.
So, hey, Luke's Cars on YouTube answered Jeff's question about online car shows and Google Car Spotting. Quote, I'm indifferent on virtual car shows. I like that websites will share lots of photos and Instagram handles that I wouldn't normally find. But to add to the Google Maps or spotting, I've been guilty of doing that. I just enjoy searching Japan's streets and side streets for cars. All right. There you go.
Wow.
Yeah,
I
think
wish I had that
that's
kind of time.
I think indifferent is definitely the word that I would use for virtual car shows.
Mm-hmm.
The
All right,
whole
so
internet is a virtual car show since the beginning.
Depends on what you look up.
It's that and porn.
Foreign car shows and crazy political rants. Next.
Sure. I asked what you drinking after I stopped off. We stopped off because it was hot. We were doing a lot of yard work, and I got a Jamaican Me Happy squish. I forgot about squishies. I like this. At our local beer store. Alex L. Said a recipe out of my bartending encyclopedia a while ago. From years ago, it will give the G&T cart a run for its money. Jason H. had a Casimir from Lithman's Limited Brewery, and Lee M. had a Mind Haze IP, and Dr. Florida Man told himself, I'm never drinking again. He's probably still recovering.
He was pretty twisted. Not a
okay.
surprise.
Nope.
So did Alex say what he was drinking? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
No, he's keeping it quiet.
He just said, you're drinking
holding
something.
the cards close.
yeah,
Some of
I
his
think
his special little recipe.
It's the picture of the encyclopedia is on our Facebook. If you want to zoom in and decipher it.
Oh, so he took a picture of it. Okay, got it.
Yes.
Got it. All right.
Main topic?
Main topic time.
Okay, we are talking Fabbing 101. I am excited to talk about this topic.
Fabulous.
Sure.
Not that kind of fab.
Not that kind of fabulous.
Super.
All right, so the more I look at our race cars, the more I realize we make just from on hand, whatever we have on hand for what we need. This is anywhere from cages to brackets to pulling metal out of our general metal bin and old roll caging to banging on a piece of metal that we shoved in the vise to bend it just at the right angle. We really do a lot of fabbing in our garage, and just about on every car, trailer, thing, random thing around, even in the house in some places, we have. So we're going to talk about some things. And Jeff, do you want to start about where to start?
Sure. You really need to start with a plan. And that's really what I'm going to start with. Like, usually somebody says, oh, I need to attach that, or I need to make that, or I need something that slides in and out of that, or I need to close that hole, or I need to make that hole bigger. You know what I mean? Like these are the first things that you think of. But I really want you to kind of step back and really think about, like, not what you think you need to do, but what's the problem you need to solve. Because a lot of times there's an easier way to get that done. Is there already an implement that does what you want to do and you just need to bolt it on or screw it on or attach it on or bend it? You know, like think about repurposing what you already have and using that. Case in point, I got a new elliptical. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago, and it's old school and it only has a hole in it the size of an old iPhone, like an original iPhone. And I wanted to put my iPad on it so I could watch my Westworld. And I sat there and I was like, oh, well, I could make a this or I could make a that and I could do this. And maybe Hamza, can you 3D print this? And Jim, can you 3D print that? And blah, 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 blah. And I said, I only really need like a lip. And I can make that out of wood. So I literally took a couple scraps of wood and I glued them together and I slid it into the slot and it works fine. That is fabbing too. Finding something that you already have and repurposing is a great way to fab. Thinking around your problem to fab the easiest thing possible is probably the best way to go, instead of making something totally cray-cray or totally perfect or exactly what you saw on the internet.
Or be buying it. Like,
yeah, buying it's worse.
Right? You could just buy it. Like, okay, well, let me go on Amazon and find a shelf thing, right? Like, you could just say, what do I need to buy this from Home Depot? Like, I'm just going to go get the whole thing that you think you need that you could just make. Go ahead, Chris.
Like the battery box I just made for the trailer the other day. Looking online, they're like $100 and something for a bracket to hold your battery with a tie down on it. I made it in about an hour and a half at most, using just actually scrap various bits I found under the workbench, including like a part of a grill that we hadn't used.
No, it's a grill pan that you use for vegetables, right? So you have like that stainless steel, like has little.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Well, we had two of them, and this is the one we never used, and it's been sitting under the workbench for 3 years. And I was like, so I cut it up and bent it, and anyway, made that. But I was appalled at how expensive a battery box was, and we weren't even going to hold a Group 27 battery, which is what I was trying to do. Like it was amazing. So I said, all right, fine. I guess I'll just make that.
But the research on the internet is great because sometimes you find that it's not that expensive. Brackets to hold the wink mirror. I was looking because we had lost one and we had broke one, and I was like, well, I could cut that and I could do this and I could do that. And then I looked it up and they were like $6. So.
Or you can rip off the designs you see online.
Exactly. It's a great way to do it. Yeah. Make a plan, make a strong plan, make an easy plan, research it before you do it.
So a lot of things we just talked about are kind of onto the next thing, but what materials do you have on hand or that you can get easily and will suit your needs? One of our favorite things that we use and may still have tiny scraps, but it literally is all over every single one of the cars we own, is a water heater. So our water heater fortunately exploded the day we were leaving for a race, I believe.
Yeah, the night before we went for the race with the boat. Yep.
That long ago, I remember.
Right, yeah, I guess it was the night before, but it was still, we were frantically packing, running around, and all of a sudden our basement was filling with water. So anyway, so we got a new water heater. Great. So we had an old water heater, and the thin steel out of the old water heater is great to use. We use it for all kinds of stuff. So
now my shirt doesn't match.
So I spent the time, it was probably a Saturday after we went the race, I cut it up, and you take your tin snips and cut off the bottom and take the outside out, and we kept it and we used it for everything because it's really lightweight. It is, and it's easy to work with. So it was really an easy thing to use.
It's a big piece of sheet metal. That's what it is, and it's free. And if you save the bits that say like, Brandford white water heater on it and put that in conspicuous locations, that totally adds credibility to your lemons build.
But I think we use these kind of things to patch holes in the firewall. I think that's the kind of thing that we use. So it's light. It will do the job you needed to do. But why should you use a piece of steel that you bought from Fazio's that's expensive for something like that when you just need to do a patchwork? So
we patched our sunroof, our headlight covers.
Right.
The old boxer on the fuel cell. I could keep going with various things that are made out of water heater.
Mm-hmm. And that's just one water heater, I think.
So
we had two. Your parents' water heater went, and we took it to scrap.
We're like, we need this. We need this. Jeff, do you want to add yours?
Mental's got his hands up.
Go ahead.
Is he going to yell at me for reversing my shirt so we don't look like twins?
I'm going to mock you.
I like twinsies.
Who wouldn't want to look like this? Please.
I don't let like if like I'm wearing the same color as my wife, I'll change before we go out.
Well, we did. I mean, Chris and I.
But
did
no,
that,
and it's what I
today.
like about this and this hobby in general, and it's very dangerous because you can find yourself hoarding, but you do get into a much more of a reduce, reuse, recycle mentality because you start to see everything as having value rather than just being trash. And I have a real bad tendency of erring too much the hoarding size, and every now and again I have to purge myself. But it is nice because now it's
Purge yourself. Jeez, at least close the door first.
It's not just junk. It's now, oh, I could use that. I did the same thing a number of years ago with an oven. We gotten this old crappy oven that quit working and we replaced it, but I took all the metal off the side of it, and I was actually using it for powder coating in my garage, and then it just quit working completely. But I took all the side parts off of it and then took the rest of the dump, and so much of that ended up in various patches and rust repairs, and not even just car stuff, but just good, cheap, large swaths of metal. You're excellent.
So yeah, I was going to say the same thing. Before you send anything to the dump, if you see a little bit that looks like it's worth saving, cut it up and keep it.
But I like Mental's ideas that don't be a hoarder. Like if you have pieces, we don't have a whole lot around. There's things that we look at to say, okay, that's a big enough piece that we have we can use it for something.
Oh yeah, I mean, don't go crazy.
Like when you say little pieces, you're like, that's
no. I mean, like,
I mean,
we still have the
people
dash
have seen,
bar.
People have
from
seen
the
your
boat.
desk, so you're a hoarder. I mean, like it's.
We've seen your garage, Jeff.
I get the shakes looking at your desk.
Yeah, I really
Can't.
Oh my God,
I
no,
just can't.
no, don't do it.
So there's my desk.
Oh no.
Oh, and that's better than it was,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not
You
so
didn't
bad.
clean it though, did you?
No, it just I cleared stuff out of the way because I was
Right.
doing other work. So I'm going to say that like we have the dash. We pulled the door bars out of the boat. We pulled a lot of the bracketry out of the boat before we sent it to the junkyard. We still
All the
have
fuses,
all
big
the-
chunks of wire.
Yeah, I
right?
mean, there's a mentality of, hey, what is that? So David Eckel called me the other day via Facebook, and he said, hey, do you have any 1.5 inch pipe or tube? Because we're building some cage, and Fazio's won't let us go to the store and buy it. We have to do like orders, and it's going to take us 2 weeks. And I went into my garage and I started yanking stuff out, and I found lots of really great tube. None of it was 1.5 inches because we do everything with 1 3/4. But like we still have the dash bar from the boat. We still have.
So yanking gets nothing, but purge myself, all of a sudden I get hammered. All right, whatever.
I was going to. He just kept going.
Sorry. Like I still have a bunch of square tube from the Half Magic trailer. Heavy stuff, good stuff that I've used in a lot of different things. And we can still find stuff on our race cars that is, gay Hitler camouflage colors because it came off the cars that long ago. So yeah.
And just various assorted scrap. You never know. Like my grill pan, things like that. Just you never know what you're going to need. Or last night, actually, in the wiring I was doing on the trailer, I realized I'm wiring up this whole 12-volt controller, and I said, if I ever need to take this off, everything, I just can't leave it all just spliced together. So I went into my bucket of various assorted electrical stuff, and I found a distributor connector from a Honda that I just cut that bit off, and so it's 9 pins of OEM quality wiring and pins. So I wired it all to that. So if I need to take that panel out, one plug has it undone. There you go.
Cool. But we're talking about fabbing, and most of the people are talking about metal fabbing.
But it's the idea.
Oh, I was trying to transition you
bits.
to your next topic.
Oh,
All right, so, and this is what this is a good thing. What skills do you have? And the interesting thing, well, not but a great facet of the Three Pedal Mafia is the army of various capabilities that has assembled. Bruce, Greg, the 4 people on the screen, and it is a very broad array of skills and assets, and then all of those are all surpassed by Hamsa. But what do you know how to do? Because when you're trying to make something is not the time for you to learn a new skill. Years ago, I took a welding class.
I disagree. I think making something is the perfect time to learn a new skill.
And let me
Not the first time or the last time we're going to disagree on this podcast. Keep going, Mental.
Right.
Make your
No,
point.
and your point is valid. But let me finish this one. And I think you might come with me on this one is don't wait till you need something to learn how to do something. If you're in this hobby and you don't know how to weld, if you're not willing to take a class, you should start wandering in the paddock and start asking people, or maybe help somebody else with their race car. This is a skill you know you're going to need later. Fabrication as far as bending metal, things like that. YouTube as an entire army. And when you've got nothing to do, or if you don't own a race car, but you know you're going to do this, this is a great time to get lost down one of those holes and start working on those skills that you'll know you'll need. And yes, to your point, Chris, it is a good time to start learning. But if I know I need to weld up seat mounts for my race seat on my race car, maybe that's not the time I learn to weld. I learned to weld when I've got to do the body repair on the rear bumper kind of a deal. And so it's a balance.
Yeah,
kind of.
or you practice it, or if it's not like a non-safety critical item and you don't know what to do with it, that's a time, like there's no better time to start. And don't let that stop you.
Yes.
It's like, well, I don't have that skill yet, but I have to do this thing. Perfect.
There you go.
Take your time,
yes.
read it, research it, watch your YouTube video, whatever works for you, and apply it. And you're going to fail a bit, but but once you do it a little bit, you're going to learn. So maybe you have to make two, but you know what? The second one's going to be better in so many ways. Okay. Not only did you just make something that you needed, but you learned while you were doing it.
And I'm going to wrap it up for my part on this one is don't wait until you need something. Now we're going to be going to these races and we're going to be socially distancing, but you're online, you're talking to these people, you're listening to this podcast, you've got friends. When they need to fabricate something, even if you're just spectating, these are skills that can never be taken away from you. These are ideas. This is knowledge that you can gain and learn. And I'm going to tell, when we get into our favorite stories, I'm going to tell a story about how we built something literally from nothing, and it's still actually out there running races. So when we start to return to a hint of normalcy, this is the best time to wander around the paddock and learn how other people are fixing their stuff. And ask questions. 90% of anyone in this hobby, regardless of the organization you run with, is more than happy to go, oh, well, this broke and it cost $700 and F that noise. And so we're just going to do this, and pay attention to how they fix it. And then pay attention if it breaks. We fell in love with Bruce when he welded brake pads to a clutch disc so he could finish a race. We're like, that's a man that doesn't take no for an answer. You know, when the zombies come, Bruce is going to be just fine.
I fell in love with Bruce when his beard was tickling. Never mind. That's not the right story. We'll talk about that later.
So,
can you say taint on a podcast? I just need to know for future.
You can never say taint on a podcast. It's in the rules.
Tainted.
But don't wait until you need something to learn the skills. Start building those skills now. And there are any number of avenues in this hobby to do it.
So, and I'm going to jump right in there to transition to my section. And my section is, when you don't know it, just do it. Like, I was probably one of the less fabulous than some of the other people on the podcast way back when we started, or I should say on the team, because Mental wasn't even around at this point. I think he was still in the Air Force living in Blackistan or wherever he was.
I'm still in the Air Force now, but okay,
the first time.
And still somewhere hot and sandy, but
it's true.
Fewer people are shooting.
Damn,
awesome.
in the desert. You're still in the desert. Yeah. I don't know, whatever. So, you know, and the first cage we built was in the Spam Honda, and, you know, like, we had what really looked like really hard thing to do, and that was we needed to make a part of the floor that was all like janky shaped, not because it was bent, but because that's the way Honda had stamped out the body, and we needed to make a flat spot for the cage to land.
So, Rachel, I want you to design floor to make sure it never become race car.
But exactly. So anyway, and I kind of like looked at Chris and goes, how the hell am I going to design that? And he said, get a freaking pizza box and figure out what shape we need. And we've done, if you don't have pizza boxes, I don't know how you build anything.
I like the thinner, non-corrugated stuff, like from like a 12-pack of Diet Coke,
Which we always have around.
or a cereal box. 'Cause it's a little easier to work with.
Case of beer, most cases of beer.
Yep.
So get yourself a frickin' Sharpie. Think in a little 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional, and if you got to use some tape and you got to build it out of cardboard first, build it out of cardboard.
Carpet knife.
And
razor
then
blade knife. Yep.
trace it onto metal.
And Chrissy, you coined the phrase. What do we call it when we use old drink cases as a concept of design?
She's thinking. She has no idea what you're talking about.
And I'm going to say it. She'd be like, oh, yeah, I totally made that.
You could look at the show notes and see the words.
I don't know that word.
Cardboard.
So CAD. It's CAD. It's CAD.
Cardboard
aided design.
Instead of computer aided design.
And you coined that phrase, and like our listeners went nuts over it.
Oh, great. Yes, I did.
Just it's mental math. It had a root in truth like 10 minutes ago, but it's just been extrapolated right out of the. Chris, I know you're going to really kind of walk us through it, the whole CAD thing and how it works. So go for it.
Yeah, I guess let's put this all together. These have all been great ideas and great topics, but what does it all look like together? So let's say you need to make a simple bracket. Maybe it's for mounting a fog light. Maybe it's for mounting a radiator that doesn't fit in your car. You need to make a tab, but something simple, not a huge amount of load on it. And all you've got are simple tools like a drill, a saw, or an angle grinder with a cutoff wheel, a vise, a hammer. These are things that just about everybody has. Like Bill, even you have these things. Like, you know, even when he started. So let's look at that level. But we're going to use cardboard. So start off by thinking, okay, put the piece where you want it to go, and then look where you need it to attach. And then think about how the shape needs to be to do that. And then just, if you can't visualize it as well, just grab a piece of cardboard or a piece of paper, anything, and just put it where you need it to go to the destination, and try starting to fold it. How does it look? How does it need to be? And because if you can make it out of cardboard or paper, you can make it out of metal using just the tools I gave you right there. So
no, you need a welder. You can't do this without a welder.
Yeah,
I'm being dumb guy. Go ahead.
Exactly. So you sometimes the welder really helps, but just origami goes a long way on with metal to do this. So get the paper out. And sometimes it's easier if you start with paper because it's even more flexible. You can kind of get a rough idea and take your time, start cutting a little bit, start folding, seeing how it looks. And if you don't like it, you know what? It's paper. Go get some more. Try it again. So keep going with trying your paper until you get a design you think is going to work. Then transfer it to cardboard so it's a little stiffer. You can see how it's really going to work without the flexibility of the paper. And once you've got that, Mark can say, okay, well, it needs to be this long, and this has a curve here and a hole here, and has to have a bend in this spot. Great, you just made it out of cardboard exactly what you need. Now you have to transfer it to the metal. So unfold it, lay it out flat, put it on the metal you're going to use, and just draw it with a Sharpie, including drawing where the hole is, drawing that all out there too. Then take your cutting device, whatever cutting device you choose, whether it's a wheel of death on an angle grinder, especially with the guard removed. That's
Love
great.
Wheel of Death.
Yep. It might be a jigsaw with a metal blade in it. Those work okay. A sawzall, even just an old hacksaw. Like I still use my just hand hacksaw for some small stuff because it's about as fast as getting the tool, putting the blade on, and actually doing it, but it's less loud and obnoxious. So start cutting. And then once you've cut it, like, all right, you've got your piece. It's pretty close. If you have a file, you can file the edges down, or a grinding stone, anything like that, just to keep the sharp bits off of it. It's always nice to avoid those sharp bits. You can also round the corners over. I just like to do that aesthetically usually, just to make it a little bit nicer, but that's just me. Also, sometimes you need to round the corners over because otherwise there's a pointy bit, and you don't want to have pointy bits.
No sharp
pointy
stuff.
Bits. As long as if they're around anything that can't have a sharp thing, like a person or a hose,
my fire suit.
Yep, exactly.
Ass of my fire suit.
Exactly. So you round those things off a little bit, and then now you got to drill a hole. All right. Well, the way to start drilling a hole is not just to get the big drill holes that you need, because the drill bit's going to walk. It's not going to work so well. So if you have a punch, put the punch right in the middle of the hole and hit it with a hammer once. And that's going to make a little indentation that the tip of the drill bit will sit into very nicely. If you don't have one of those, that's fine too. Just start off with a really small drill bit right in the middle and start drilling that hole, and then go to a bigger one and then a bigger one, depending on how big the hole needs to be. But take it slow when you're drilling, and use a little bit of oil, like WD-40 works, PB Blaster, or if you have actual cutting oil, that works too. And don't go fast. If you go quickly, it heats up the drill bit, and that's what dulls the drill bit and makes you hate life, because you have a whole pack full of dull drill bits.
Dull drill bits are the worst.
Yeah.
Like
We wouldn't know at all.
And I'm going to throw this out there too, is because I had to learn this lesson the hard way. Know the difference between a metal drill bit and a wood drill bit.
Yeah. I like to buy the set of them at Harbor Freight with a coupon for $13, because then I don't really care as much. And I always have sharp ones. But also over time, you can learn how to sharpen them just on an angle grinder if you're careful. But that's what I do.
I'm not that careful. I gotta get the little machine. Let me put in a plug for drill bits and when you're fabbing and stuff. If it doesn't matter what size hole you need to drill, like it doesn't need to like fit a bolt perfectly. Pick like those 32nd sizes.
Oh, totally. The 64ths.
The 64ths and the 32nds, because you're going to dull and break those. And if you don't have like the 3/8 drill bit, you might as well throw out the freaking set.
Quarter inch,
the
5/16.
quarter inch, 5/16 to 3/8. Do not use these when you're just trying to cut a rough hole.
1/8 even. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I usually start it with what's a 64th less than an eighth. Like that's kind of my starter bit. Because I don't need that one.
I bought a set the other day and it had 2 3/8 and 2 quarters. I was like, this is the best set ever.
It was called the JIT set, wasn't it?
Oh, so small joys.
Yeah.
All I need is a socket set with 10 10s, and then
They make them.
I know.
Yes.
So then lastly, now you've got your piece cut out. It's flat. It's got a hole in it, or maybe 2, whatever you need. Now you've got to bend it at that bend mark. All right. So mark that bend mark with a line in the Sharpie, and put it in your vise. Don't put the vise, the bend mark all the way down at the right at the top of the jaws of the vise. Go very slightly up from that. Then take some pliers and start your bend. Get it worked over a bit. And then start hitting it with the hammer, but hit it down fairly low near the bend, especially as it gets further over to where you want it bent. Like say you want it bent 90, well then as it works over, you start hitting it closer and closer and closer to the bend, and that'll make a sharper radius bend if you want a sharper radius. If you don't want a sharper radius, hit it further out and you get a more gradual radius.
There is nothing more satisfying than taking that piece of just flimsy, floppy, light steel, putting it in the vise, and like pushing it down with the palm of your hand just to get that first little bit. A little tap, tap, tap with that hammer, and the steel just tightens up. The properties of metal that is bent and the amount of rigidity that a bent piece of metal. That's why Japanese people started folding paper for origami at 150,000 years ago, or whenever it started.
And folding metal for samurai swords.
Folding metal. It's folded metal just so increases the rigidity. If you're like, this bracket needs to be stronger, fold it in half.
And you also can fold down one side to make an L. That gives rigidity in 2 different planes.
Yep. I love making L's and boxes out of flat pieces just to make it nice and strong.
Yeah, and they don't have to touch the, kind of cut out the overlap. But again, that's a more complicated, but the same exact principles of everything we're describing here. It's one piece that can be flat. Figure out where to fold it. Figure out where the holes are. Figure out what size it is. Make it out of cardboard. Draw it on your metal. Go for it. So, and really, like that's it. And then when you're done, ideally, paint it, because it's steel probably, and it'll just rust. And just old coat hangers work to put through that hole, hang it up, a little Rust-Oleum, done.
So this leads me to the next section. And this doesn't have anything to do with covering it this weekend. Chrissy just said, hey, we should do Fab 101. And you're like, yes, we should do Fab 101. But this weekend, we got called out a little bit on the Instagrams. in a very non-call-out style. Seems that the garage heroes in training had to take their fuel cell out of their ombre, and they said, look, this fuel cell cage, it's getting kind of rusty because I guess we never painted it when we built it.
How many years ago?
No, this was a couple years ago.
This
But
wasn't
if I
that long
recall,
ago at all.
if I recall, we were rushing to finish
We were
this.
rushing to finish this a lot.
And we had to get it running and driving to drive back on the trailer, and it was going to go to Red Atlanta the next week. So painting it was not in the cards. We got it done and got it, them sent down the road, but we didn't have time to paint that and have it drivable. I think we said as we were slapping Bill on the butt as he was leaving, make sure you paint that after you're done.
No, it's absolutely true. When you fold metal, when you grind metal, when you weld metal, obviously, one of the first things you have to do, or through the process of working with his tools, is you're going to pull all those little protective coatings on it that were done at the mill scale and all that. So it's going to, if you heat it up, if you bend it, or if you grind it off on purpose, get out the old flat black rattle can and hit that sucker before it gets put together.
I'm a fan of the Rust-Oleum silver hammered finish.
I have a lot of that. Yeah,
it's very hard.
Of that. Yes.
Yeah, it's very durable, and you can't see like the when it's uneven and stuff because it's all uneven. I like that. That's why the whole roll cage in the Civic is covered in that stuff. It works great.
Yeah, I'm out of that, but my son's favorite color is light blue. So everything I've been building lately has become light blue because I have like 9 half cans of
I was making stuff that was pink and light blue and light yellow for like
long,
a year.
All the time.
Yeah. But like, model rocket. Oh, need a can of light blue. Pinewood Derby car. Need a can of light blue. Just got a lot of light blue laying around.
Cool. So yeah, Bill, of course, paint your cage.
Yeah, Bill, paint the cage. It's not our freaking car.
All, right?
At this point, get some Pour 15 or some Rust Bullet, and that'll be the right stuff to paint on rusty metal.
Look, was it our car? No. Was it our problem? No.
Did we make it?
Did we build a good, safe fuel cell mount and
it's
cage?
Not easy to do those things. It took us all weekend to do like one thing. So
it worked, and it was in the car, and it's been in the car since.
Blah, blah, blah.
Paint your own damn thing.
Let's talk about our favorite fabbing adventures.
Adventures in fabbing.
Adventures.
Adventures is a little
right,
funner than this is.
I'm going to start at the bottom here.
Oh, okay.
Remember that everybody starts somewhere. Like right now, I can look at almost anything and go, yeah, all right, I'll just make that. Like it's not a big deal anymore. And we don't, there's all various levels of quality fabrication. And I am only like a medium fabricator. I mean, there's people with lathes and mills. And,
plasma cutters.
Right. And,
engineering degrees, and water jets.
Yeah.
We hate
I've got
those.
a plasma cutter, but I've got a liberal arts degree. So.
We hate those people, even though they bring their dad and their Saab wagon and have a good time, and we actually love them.
Yeah. So, all those people are wonderful, and I love that they have all that stuff. I don't have all that stuff, but, I can still feel like I can make almost anything that we need made. We can do it. I just started way back in the day, and I remember this because when I took apart the Wagga van, it's just this point 8 years ago, but I was then seeing my 8 years ago me, which is like Jeff's level of fab now, or actually a little worse even, I'd say. Right?
Thanks.
No, I was worse than you now. But like when we built the Wagga van, I was the best we had. It's like, well, crap, we got to do this, right? But 2001 me didn't know crap. So I was putting the 1.6 VTEC motor in the Wagga van for the first time, where it had never existed before. And the VTEC motors don't have the intermediate shaft on the axle. They just have one long, one short, where the Wagga van had one long, two short, but had an intermediate shaft, right?
Yeah.
So the block wasn't prepped for the intermediate shaft to bolt to it. It had one boss that could be tapped and bolted on. The other two had nothing. I said, well, I got to put something there. So I made this really awful, like just piece of sheet metal because it's what I had. I kind of cut it right. I put a bolt through it. I don't know if it actually did anything, but it made me feel better at the time. And when I took it apart later, many years later, I said, oh, that's bad. And then I built something much better, but it was still bad at the time. So it takes a while to get there. You go from a crappy piece of single sheet metal that bolts through, it doesn't really do anything, to what do you want to make? Metal.
And between that and the Garage Heroes thing, I would offer, own what you get wrong, own those mistakes, learn those lessons, and press on. Not everybody, the car shows that are on Velocity, make it look like, oh yeah, I just learned how to do this and it's so simple, and they completely rebuild a 68 Charger in a weekend, and that's crap. And I would offer, even the folks that went to trade schools made any number of dumb mistakes learning their craft. And some of them are dumb mistakes, and some of them are smart mistakes where you learn where a piece is going to fail. And that's that voice of experience. Uncle Dave is really good about walking over and going, it's going to fail right there at this point in the future. And then we go, good enough. Or, okay, yeah, we'll brace it up right there. So if you're going to learn how to do all this kind of stuff, you can't be afraid to get it wrong. Like you said, if it's a non-safety, non-critical item.
Were you going to talk about a fuel cell?
I just wanted to add on to that one, but Chris, so we're starting from the bottom. Our favorite adventures in fabricating, as in the very first weekend I met all you guys. It was the Fiat 128 that showed up at the Lemons Race at Summit Point.
With those clueless kids.
So we were all trying to figure out, they had a real ATL fuel cell, but they needed it mounted in the trunk. So, we just kind of cut out the trunk and we found some angle iron and we dropped it in there and we took it over to tech, and they went, yeah, but what if somebody hits them from behind? The car's going to wedge up underneath it. So then we bring it back over to the pits, and we found 2 bars of metal that would run down underneath it. Now at this point, because we're all still starting out in this, we're out of fresh materials. And we are literally digging them from the earth on the other side of Summit Point. We'd gone over to where they junk all the Crown Vics, and we're like, wait, there's some metal here. Oh, wait, dig. Oh, and we're pulling all this out of the ground.
If I remember correctly, they were kind of L-shaped, weren't they?
We had some expanded metal there too. So some.
Yeah.
So then we made 2 runners that if a car hits underneath it, the fuel cell stayed intact and would go up. And then we took it back over to the tech and went, no, that doesn't work at all, because if the car flips over nose to nose, the fuel cell is going to come out and spill gas all over, which at this point, I think they were really just trying to throw puzzles at us to see if we could fit it. And this is the origin of the infamous picture of me shielding my eyes with my hands with my foot on a gas tank, while Eric welds a chain from one end of the
chain.
I remember this. Yeah.
And finally we just threw so much crap at this gas tank that they said, fine, it passes tech. And I'd forgotten all about it until 10 years later, this thing showed up at CMP, and we all walk over and go,
hey, we built that.
It's exactly the same. And that's my favorite adventure in fabrication.
I didn't know that you had dug that stuff out of the dirt. I remember helping build that.
We took the golf cart and we're driving over on the to the Hyperfest park,
Summit Point,
and we were literally in the sand pulling chunks of shit out of the ground.
Well, you took adventures to heart, because that was an adventure. I feel like the rest of these are not exactly adventures. But we have some other good options for fabbing. I really like the fuel cell cover in the Honda. The current one, they were the L's that we found. You found at Fazio's they were clearance section or something.
Yeah, they were like.
All right, what is Fazio's for those of us who don't live in the Philadelphia area?
Go ahead, Chrissy. You can explain it.
Oh, it's like a warehouse emporium of random. It's a lot. Well, you can get metal, cheap metal there first, right? So it's flat stock and roll cage tubing and that kind of stuff. I'm sorry. Disney World for what?
For metal.
Fabric. Well, fabricators, but
yeah, sure.
There's a lot of they're in the store. They have all kinds of crap. Like they have like ammo cans and like shoes and like so they might have some ducks. Like they have like.
It's kind of random. So there's a big Fazio's. I don't know if it's the original because there's more than one, but the first one, the big one, I believe, is in my town, and I kind of grew up with it, so I never really realized that this was weird.
How amazing it is!
So it started out as a metal place where you could order metal if you needed, 250 feet of rebar or whatever, but they also had the greatest used stuff, kind of recycled
random pallets
of things, and they still have the surplus division, but now they have a giant prefab building where you can literally walk around and just take things off the shelves.
And it's so cheap. The roll cage tubing we get from there is a quarter of the price of anywhere that I could find it around here.
Yeah.
And
nice. I remember going there in high school and digging through the used section and being how can I repurpose this? And, where can I find this? And giant 55-gallon trash can size coils of 2-inch rope, hemp rope, the kind of stuff you would tie a battleship to the wharf on, and being how did that get here?
I feel like we've digressed a little bit, but that is good to know. In San Diego, when I was running with the 25 Hours of Thunder Hills, a place called Marshall's. It's run by 17 Eastern European women, and they're all very short and kind of terse. But it's a hardware connector store, and it is. Oh, you need a reverse thread 10 pitch. 10/32 inch bolt and a matching. Yes, it's an aisle 7, fourth bin down to the left. And they walked in there, and when you said Disney World for fabricators, we made 4 runs over there while we were putting the cage in the E36. And I thought, and every time I walked in, I'm like, who would love this? You guys.
Yeah.
So here's the last thing that I'm going to say. Recently, I was at Fazio's not too long ago, and they had a giant pallet box, a box the size of a pallet. It was imagine 5 pallets, 1 on the bottom and 4 making walls. And it was filled with military surplus knee pads. and the sign on it said, knee pads, 2 for $30 or 1 for $15. And I said, well, who the hell needs 1?
Well, maybe you have 1.
I don't know.
Maybe you lost 1.
Maybe okay. 3. I don't know.
Okay. So the metal pieces that they were I don't even know what they were for, but they weren't for this, but they worked out really well because they had just enough overhang for all of them. Exactly how we fabbed the box around the fuel cell in the Honda. I think worked out really well with Fazio metal and I'm sure other things. There are signs. It's not chloroplast, is it? What's
chloroplast? Yeah.
Is it?
It's corrugated plastic cardboard. Yeah.
The gaps between
that's chloroplast.
Yeah, and that's I think that was
Spam Honda. When we did all this, we built a castle out of the Spam. We had the Spam helmets. All that was chloroplast.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Whatever. The other one that I was going to say is in Spank's cars. So Spank is a Mike Spangler, who is on the West Coast, wonderful teammate, really awesome guy, makes funny cars, but he makes a lot of cars. So he has come up with something interesting, and he has used the front of a dryer for the top of his fuel cell. So we cut it apart and you stick it on top. It's got a door. It latches. It opens when you want to put fuel in it, and it works really well for a fuel cell. And it's all metal. And so as long as it fits over your fuel cell, it's the easiest possible way to put a cage over your fuel cell. So things like that I think are pretty.
The top of a top load washer also works great.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I
have to put a little latch on it.
That on so many cars, but it does work alarmingly well.
Mm-hmm.
And the best part is it doesn't need a spring. When it flips up, it stays up while you're refueling. It's great.
Yep.
So here's one of my favorites. We were attaching the gauge cluster to the Wagga van. And Chris said, make a bracket to fit on this gauge cluster. And this is the first time we rebuilt it again. He didn't like it the second time, but he loved it the first time. And I took some moderately thin kind of like strapping metal, I guess is what it was. It was like kind of like it was like maybe a quarter inch wide and maybe like 6 or 8 inches long. And basically the plastic part of the gauge cluster had 4 holes in it, and we had to take it to a round tube. So I kind of like stuck these pieces of strap on it, and I just kind of whacked them against the tube until they formed like kind of the perfect like reverse D shape around the tube. But I could have sat there and tried to figure out how to bend it, and I could have bent it 1,000 times and not got it perfectly. But if you whack something that's soft against something hard, it's going to bend into the right shape. And it worked perfectly. And then at the end, I just kind of like
we're just going to let that one go. We're just going to let that one go.
Drilled a hole in it, bolted it in, and it was perfect. And, I did the same thing like 3 years later. He's like, it's not what I wanted. I was like, oh, whatever.
We made something better the next time.
We did. Yes. Absolutely. Yes.
Standards, Jeff. Standards.
Well, but I'm just going to say zeitgeist is amazing. Sometimes when you just go for it, it turns out perfect. So just go for it.
Yeah. And we've on our 3rd Honda Dash at this point now. Once we did the case swap, none of the stock stuff was going to work at all. Like, no, none of it was going to work except some of the warning lights. So I just make a new one. All right. So I started off with really, but I've got all these gauges. I know about what size it is. So I started off with a basic size in cardboard, of course. What size is the view through the steering wheel from the driver's seat? Because I know everything has to stay in there. Okay, great. So once I figure that out, good. And I take all the gauges and lay them face down on that, and in order of importance, like, okay, this is where it needs to be, and start cutting holes, and then put the warning lights near the gauges that matter, and start wiring it up. And I'm thrilled with how that looks now. Like, everything you need in that Honda is right in front of you. It's easy to see. It all makes sense.
Absolutely.
When the gauges are right, they're all straight up and down. Or when you're going to shift, the tack is straight up and down, so you can see it easily. The lights are right next to the gauge that they matter for. They all have labels. It makes me feel nice.
And they're labels that make sense, unlike Hamsa's labels.
Yes.
Hamsa's
Chaos
labels make
and order.
perfect.
Laser beams.
Hamsa's labels make perfect sense
to him
if you understand Hamsa.
Sure.
Which one is the Raptor fence? Which one is the
first time I sat in his car, I looked over and I chuckled, but I knew exactly what he was saying in every one of those labels.
Yeah.
Sure. My wife is still mad at me because I handed the only girl in our Boy Scouts troop. She borrowed my flashlight at a camping trip once, and when she returned it to me, that's when I noticed that Hamsa had put one of his rectal use only stickers on it. Her mother's a doctor. I'm sure it's not a problem.
That is the best game ever. We played that game last Christmas, and it was hilarious.
Yes, he's got one right on his thing, on your laptop there. Does anyone have anything else on fabbing? I feel like we've talked about this a lot, and it was only fabbing 101. So
it might be 102.
Well,
too,
and again, we told some great stories, and I never regret telling stories, but I feel like
that's for sure.
A one-liner from everybody all the way around, just to reaffirm the lesson.
Just send it. Do it.
You got to learn somehow.
Don't be afraid to fail. Sorry, Chrissy, I stepped on you.
Don't buy it first. Don't jump to buy it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Make it.
Unless you're out of time. Sometimes do I have more time?
Unless it's not worth your time because it's $5.
Yeah.
Fair.
It is time for Hella Sweet or But Terrible. It has been a long time since I did a Hella Sweet or But Terrible.
So those of us that are watching this on YouTube have noticed the subtle inference in Jeff's background.
Yes. So Chrissy loves it when I talk about the YouTube channels I watched, and I'm currently addicted to Watch
Little Bears
JR
driving
Go.
Porsche.
It is not a little bear. It is Watch JR Go. He's from Kansas. He's a friend of Hoovy, and he bought a $500 automatic 944.
100 or 1,000?
$100.
Okay, because you have
944.
Okay.
It is crack dealer white. Cocaine dealer white, because that's who would have had a white 944 in the and they got it running, and it drives really well. And this weekend, I already mentioned that I went to 914 Lover's house and I dropped off his 914 parts, and he took me in a ride in his little black Beetle. It's 993, and
which is beautiful.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
And
I don't think Eric owns an ugly Porsche.
No. And I looked at his Cayman, and like my tongue got longer. And I started itching a little. And I'm like,
y'all got any more of them Porsches?
Y'all got any more of them Porsches? Like scratching my beard like a crackhead. And we all know the old adage, and there's nothing more expensive than a cheap Porsche. And right now, the cheapest Porsches are not 944s. 944s are going up in price.
Yes,
And
they are.
Is there any reason that I shouldn't go out and buy a sub $5,000 944? Because I could get a really ratty 944 and fix it up, because they're kind of easy enough to fix up.
I know where there's a listener. A listener of ours who has 2.5 of these, who he would give to you for pennies on the dollar.
Oh,
to move them along.
I think I need another car to work on as soon as the Z is done. When the Z hits the track, I might be itching for another project car. How terrible.
National pickup truck.
Hella sweet or but terrible. How hella sweet or but terrible is a ratty 944? Tell me what I'm doing wrong.
All right. The question you asked in the show notes is, should Jeff get a cheap Porsche, and how terrible is a sub $5,000 944?
Yes.
And immediately before I left work, as the show notes were starting to take shape on my commute home, I typed in, yes, absolutely you should. And by the way, they're awful.
Yeah.
I defy you
I'm aware.
to name one endurance racer that we know or have seen that has raced a 944 and that car doesn't end up on the jack stands sometime during
and they're happy with it. Right?
Oh, none of them are happy.
How long does it take to do a clutch?
All of it.
If you have to ask.
All of it.
Now, as I typed that, Chris, you typed
Mental, how did your cheap Porsche work out?
And my response to that is exactly. My cheap Porsche worked out exactly like I thought it would. It would blow up very shortly, but
it tried to kill you.
Several times.
Right.
Yeah, tomato. But it did exactly what I wanted to do, which was bring me happiness while I was on the track, except for those 2 times when it tried to kill me. I had fun with that car. I don't regret that car. If you're going to go for the ratty 944, just get one that runs. Don't get one that doesn't run, Jeff, because you are a man who loves his job, who loves his family, who loves his dogs, and you are not blessed with an abundance of free time.
Oh, I didn't say I wouldn't get one that wouldn't run. I just would get one that isn't perfect.
Oh, yeah, duh.
Runs and drives, needs some work.
And don't buy one where you live. Buy one where I live.
Oh, actually, 944s, I will say, are really good about rust proofing. They were all galvanized. They held up really well against rust, like surprisingly well. I've researched these a lot. I've been a couple times where I've come close to buying a 951, which is a 944 turbo, specifically an 89. And I always end up not, because in the end, and the turbo is the only one I'd even consider because it's the one that has the performance that makes it potentially worthwhile. The non-turbo 944 doesn't do anything better than several or many other options, while also being incredibly maintenance intensive, like timing belts every 30,000 miles require special tools, like 16-hour clutch changes. Like there's so many things that'll do everything it does better. Like, and especially
I'm not that pretty.
Nah, but even then, I definitely don't get an 84. You got to get at least an 86 and a half or whatever it is, and they changed the dash and made it all much better.
Fuchs
yeah,
wheels.
You can get Fuchs on anything. Like, there's so many better options. Like, just get an NC.
No, you're absolutely right. I freely admit that the performance potential of a $5,000 944 is terrible.
Get an NC, get a CRX, get a I'm trying to think of something that's
wrong
not
wheel
as good.
drive on one of those.
Okay, fine. If you want to keep to rear wheel drive, get an MR2.
Ooh,
like a 92 MR2.
Oh, I like that.
Right?
2000.
Yeah.
S2000s are not $5,000 unless they're
like
actually
crazy
on
pricey.
fire. But like, there are so many things that are better than this. Like, and maybe you can actually drive because you want something to work on. Great. We're always going to have Lemons cars. They're always going to all right. Your international truck beckons.
You're not wrong there either.
Right. Your Mazda is getting up in the age and janky. Eventually something's going to break on that. You have to fix. You always have something janky to work on.
It's true.
You just want some strange, I think, is what it's coming down to.
Oh, that is the pretty woman right there.
And see, I don't even like the non-turbo bumper 944.
Why are you looking at pretty cars when you know you're never going to wash it and you're just going to fill it full of fast food trash?
No.
And then the timing belt's going to break, and then it's just going to sit there, and you're going to be sad.
Even shitty one have Fuchs wheels on it. I'll be honest with you. I like the phone dials.
But the interior of the early ones is tragic. It's so bad. The later ones are
no.
Yes, it is.
With the inserts, with the plaid cloth inserts.
Oh no, I love that.
You can't find the plaid.
I love
like,
those. The Pasha,
Especially not in the price range he's looking for.
No, like the dashboard design is terrible in the early ones. Like they're just, and the suspension design is worse in the early ones. Like there's no reason to go early. Yeah, that's the one to get is the later ones. If you really want to make a bad decision on a Porsche, get a 928.
Yeah, you're talking about cars that can't be cheap and are maintenance intensive. And I hear all you're saying about the logic of the early 944s, but Jeff is closer to my age, so he remembers 16 Candles, and Jake Ryan had a 944, and it was an early model.
I do remember that, but that's not why I want it. Has nothing to do with it. I always thought I wanted to be Ducky, not Blaine or whatever his name was.
That's Pretty in Pink. That's a completely different movie. He drove a 911. Jake Ryan.
There's only one step up of me.
Jake Ryan was the one from 16 Candles with Molly Ringwald.
Chrissy, you had your hand up. Do you have some advice for me?
No. Do not do this. Where are you going to put it?
I don't know.
You have so many freaking cars in your driveway.
I do.
You had to make a bigger driveway to put all your crappy
Yes.
cars.
Go to the garage first. You want something to work on? I got a Citroen.
There's nothing to do to that.
We got to resurrect it again. It's been
we
four
do.
years.
Yes. And it's a little bit moldy and it really needs help. So you can fill your backyard with cars, which your wife and family will be really happy with.
And the
right?
township.
Sure. Just
The
put it all in
dogs
your
will like
backyard.
it. The dogs will love it.
Is this a good idea?
No, it's not a good idea, but it's the greatest idea.
No, it's not. And I like Chris's answers. And if we said it, drive your Corvette. You have other cars to drive. You don't. The problem is that we have cars that fill a need, right? You have the sports car, the fun car. Right now we have a duplicate, but the other one's going. You got the race cars. You've got the cars that work. This car doesn't fill a need that you need.
Except Jeff's need for some strange. That's really the only need.
And that's a
totally
dumb
just
reason.
strange.
It's
You're
just a
absolutely right.
dumb reason to do that.
Yeah. It's. I always dreamed of owning a Porsche.
Me too. Yeah. And
sitting in one this weekend and looking
they're
at
not
it.
the same.
They're not.
No, what you know.
I totally know. I totally
what
know
you
that.
sat
Yeah,
in this
absolutely.
weekend is not
It's
the
not
same.
even close
Say,
to
if
around
you're-
That's what you would get.
944.
Yeah, if you're going to do
At
that,
all.
get a Boxster. It's closer to what you sat in.
It's true. It's
And
true.
you don't do
And
that.
to be honest, the cheapest performance Porsche with 2 seats in it right now is a Boxster, not a 944.
I think
And they are
I love-
years newer and much more performance.
the
and-
NC is actually a fine suggestion. Then
I kind of have a Miata.
oh, you do not, and that is
Well,
the
how about-
crappiest Miata.
No, it works now.
It doesn't
Yeah, how
matter.
many
It's
times have I
still
heard that?
bad.
It doesn't live here. That's the problem. If it
It's
lived
still
here,
bad. It's not
Well,
an NC.
How about this? Save up a little bit, and then as the prices of Caymans keep coming down,
now you're talking.
then you do that.
Or you buy the Boxster and you get the $1,200 Cayman roof that you can put on the Boxster.
I like the Cayman. All right.
It's a Boxster with a hard top. They're the same car.
I think we've
will-
killed this.
Yeah, I will.
Don't buy one.
I didn't really have a plan to buy one. I just
Bill's still going to text you and offer you his
like now, like soon.
2.84 944s that he got.
if he can hold them, maybe I will. Does anyone have anything else? Do we know what we're doing next week?
We do. In
Oh,
our never
we know what we're doing
Yes.
next week.
In our never-ending quest to bring you every instructor from the Atlanta area, we are going to have Trevor Andrusko, off-road racer. He's the competition manager for Atlanta Motorsports Park. He's also one of the managers over at the Road Atlanta Driving Club. He is a fantastic person. He's the other half of Kingpin Racing because we had Trevor Hoffman on, and he is a wonderful character that makes up this colorful tapestry of our beloved sport.
Awesome. Thank you for downloading us. Check out the YouTube channel, including my mutts barking obscenities. We hope you enjoyed this week's edition of Everyone Racers. We also hope you'll join us in the world of driving, racing, and building because everyone can be a racer, even you. If you enjoyed this podcast, subscribe. It is totally free and COVID-free.
Worth what you paid.
And worth what you paid or your money back. Then go to iTunes and give us a 5-star rating, even if you hate us. Just say why Jeff shouldn't own a 944. If you have any questions or show ideas, drop a comment on our Facebook page, Everyone Racers. Email us at everyone.racers@gmail.com. Find us on Instagram or Twitter at Everyone Racers. Thanks again, and until next week, keep the fooks down.
Unless
the phone
like
dials.
Unless like Jeff, you have done.
Hankies on the Miata. Thanks, everyone. Goodbye.